the zone when we're together, because what happens is even when you're together by yourself, you still are thinking of other things, and that's when I'm like, well, you got to be able to put those things aside when they're in front of you. You're not supposed to be thinking of work when it's not work time, when you're not doing stuff with work, right? When you're with family, you're not supposed to be doing that, but we all do. And I think that's where we get lost, right? Yes, work. Obviously, if you don't do your work, you don't get paid. Your family's out. You're homeless. Whatever. Obviously, you got to put in the time into those things, right? But you got to know when to let it go. And I feel like I think Crystal and I have always been somewhat good at that. I think there's times where we get caught up on other stuff because we really, we want to make sure our family's safe, and we'll do whatever it takes to make them safe. But little by little, I feel like we're getting more in tune without even trying to be in tune, and I feel like that's what that lady was picking up on. So, but I'm going on and on and on. But it was a very cool and special moment that made me realize that I feel like that's why people are maybe seeing those kind of things, or how me and Crystal are in tune. Because I have heard a lot of more people talk about me and Crystal and how in tune we are. So I don't know. I'll take that as a compliment, like I said, and just means me and her are just getting used to each other and doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, but without even knowing it. And I guess that feels good because we're just on autopilot, uh, being good partners. So maybe this little experiment will work, and it'll show us the weak points, or maybe it'll show us that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing and just move forward. So I don't know. We'll see. That was my biggest takeaway from this week, aside from being proud of all our kids and noticing that stuff and everything. But I will say that writing down everything, I've gotten so much better where I'm actually writing almost every day. If not the next day, I'll write down everything from the last day. Instead of like the first week I did this, I literally wrote everything down on that Friday right before I did my video, and so that becomes very hard, and it's also very notable that you don't remember shit from 2 or 3 days ago, right? Obviously, you're not meant to remember every single little thing that happened because you need space in your brain for all the important stuff, right? But I would like to remember the little lessons learned every day, and writing these things down. I don't need to remember, how good Easton did on his swim meet, although obviously that's a good memory. But the most important piece is the lessons learned from that day, right? So, for example, like him, being okay with being slower, but working on technique, like that's a good lesson, right? We should all learn from those things and really focus on the basics sometimes before we start. We want to try to fly before we know the dynamics of flying or know how. And so I feel like he's on the right track for that. So that's what I'm talking about with those lessons. Same thing with like Gabby, right? And I don't necessarily remember the people I met at her Girl Scout event or anything like that, but knowing that she's out there doing good things and helping out and getting physical, and understands like the where it's not just about like, hey, one day these cookies appear at my door and I sell them and then they get mailed out. She understands like where they come from, what it takes to distribute this, and how many people are involved in that. So those are all good lessons, that I like to take away. And writing this stuff down is really, really good for all that, because it makes me contemplate on those things, and I love it. So I'm gonna hurry up here because the rest of the week was pretty much the same. Every our weeks work, kids, take Easton to school, pick up Gabby certain days of the week, spend time, swim, workout, cold plunging, all that stuff. Same old thing. Continue to do those things, and then I'm just thinking adding sprinkling a few little things here and there, doesn't hurt. But overall, having a consistent week definitely helps. Having a good calendar, which I just bought one of those digital wall calendars where all of us can see what everyone's up to, where they're at, where we're going. That helps, especially with like my anxiety, knowing what's going on today, tomorrow, and to prep for it. Even though I didn't need a wall calendar or an electronic wall calendar, if you will, digital wall calendar to do all those things. It definitely makes things easier, right? So don't be afraid to change it up. And even though say you have a diary you write in every day, you have a calendar that you write and you use your phone or whatever, but for whatever reason it's still not helping or it's not working, don't be afraid to move on to something new or better or whatever, or just change it up. Not everyone's the same, right? I used to be that way. I was like, why can't I be as organized as so and so? Why can't I use, I just, it's hard for me. I love technology sometimes, but there's certain things that just don't work, for me. And as I get older, as I'm doing, especially writing these things down, I start to realize where there's holes, and then I can fill those holes. That came out weird, but anyways, so making these notes has helped. And then lastly, let me see what else we got. Oh yeah, I did 2 open mic nights. I won't get too much into that because that one's just another thing that I'm doing for my mental health and to help me. But writing these daily events down, and what's gone on during my week has definitely helped me with writing, because now I'm sitting down every day and I'm writing, even though it's just simple stuff like, went to school or took Easton to school, went to work out, went to work, did these things. It's also kind of spilling over into my comedy writing, which is definitely helping. Like I said, that's to me, that's not like, I'm not trying to be a comic. Like, that's not my goal, right? I'm not planning on making a career out of it. That's not what I want. Um, if that happens for whatever reason, that's okay. But I'm not looking for that, right? I'm looking for other things. I'm looking to get other things out of this whole comedy thing than to be, a comedian. One of them was just to get up on stage and get it done. So that goal has already been done. I did it once. The more I do it, I just get better. But that goal is already completed, right? So I can scratch that off and I can move on. But what I've noticed is it's helping me writing more in other situations, where one thing I do want to do is get these ideas that I have in my head and put them down on paper. I have a lot, I want to start with at least one. And I feel like between this project and my comedy, that's been helping a lot with my writing, which is ultimately where I want to be. So other than that, it was a good week. I said a normal week, but now every week is the same, except for the lessons learned are always a little bit different, but we forget because we don't think about them. We don't go back and we don't, break it down and all that. And with this little um, project experiment, if you will, it's definitely helping me go back, break down the things that happened, and what are the good things that came out of that event. So I think it's working. As far as I'm concerned, I'd like to do something like this. I know Crystal was talking about doing this. This is kind of where it all began, and so I think for her it'll be good. Don't necessarily need to go over every day of the week, but if I just write down like some of the things, the more important things that happened, like what were the lessons learned from that day, and then talk about 2 or 3 things from that week, I think that would still be beneficial and kind of continue to help me grow. And so I don't. We'll see. We'll see what Crystal says in her videos. We'll compare notes, and maybe we're not compatible and we separate and we grow our own separate ways. I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe we'll find out that we're actually doing good things and we're stuck together. Either way, just kidding. No, this is awesome. This has really, really been not eye opening, but just interesting. Interesting. I think it's how you take it and what you do with it. So we'll see. All right, guys. Take care. See you next week.